Good. So let's get to it for today. So based on our curriculum and schedule for today, we'll be talking about Azure Compute, virtual machines, and everything around virtual machine and so on and so forth. So please, I want us to be more attentive to it. So I'm now tying everything we have done previously in our previous class. That's talking about the subscriptions, talking about how to create virtual networks and so on and so forth, NSG, and I'll be tying it up now with how they integrate with each other. So now we are going to creating virtual machine. What do you understand by Azure Virtual Machine? So let me firstly start with this. Virtual machine are literally servers, but they are created, they are virtual. Like, let me give you another illustration of it, a very simple one to talk about. Looking at your system, your personal system. But this personal system is not a physical system that you can hold like a real system. But in this time, it is held in a server rack. You get it? So they call those things server. Servers are different from normal PC because of they don't have some of these things that this normal PC has. Like for instance, they don't have physical keyboard, they don't have physical mouse, they don't have physical monitor, they don't have physical um, parameters that you have to do for your input and output. They don't have those physical parameters, but the physical parameters they have are majorly your core meaning the memory, the CPU, the RAM, and all those things. All those things are integrated with each other virtually. So when you bring them together, that's what they call virtual machine. So they are servers, but not physical servers that you can undo. They are either hosted somewhere in Microsoft data center and so on and so forth. So the only way you can be able to interact with those servers is by creating those servers, virtually, and also integrating with them virtually. So that's how they kind of work. So today I'll be running you through on how to create virtual machines. Also, what are the things I need to put in place when I'm creating a virtual machine? What are the things that are important when after creating a virtual machine? For instance, I'll be talking about the virtual machine types. We're talking about the availability, sets, and zones. We're talking about the scaling strategy, talking about the storage and disks, security best practices, and so on. So let me firstly start with how to create a virtual machine. Now, to create a virtual machine on Azure, I believe everybody can see my screen. You just go to from your dashboard, just switch to virtual machines, or you can just search for them up here. You can search for them up here by just typing VM. You understand? Very simple. You see, so not VN, VM. You see virtual machines, or you can just type it all through virtual machines. So good. I want to create a virtual machine now. Virtual machine. Sorry. Good. So we have a subscription already, which is Virtual Studio Enterprise subscription that we are using. The next thing again, we have to use a resource group. I've talked about resource group in our previous videos. So we are going to be using our demo resource group. And here is it. This DevOps Bootcamp 2025. We use this resource group for it. Virtual machine name, we can call it DevOps Bootcamp _ VM. Sorry, no, I can't use this. Okay, DevOps Bootcamp VM. So we can choose to use a region. The region we want to use, we can choose West Europe, but I would prefer we just use West US. Recommended East US. Okay, just use East US. Availability zone, we can just skip it for the availability zone. Don't just use our availability zone alone for it. The zone, this thing, use self-selected zone. Good. Um, our ability zone, we can use zone 1, zone 2, or zone 3. Trusted virtual machine, trusted launch. Please, you can use a trusted launch. You can use standard for it, but I'll prefer you using standard because we are just using this as a, um, a tutorial. And also, when it comes to the image, I will prefer using the Windows virtual machine just for these training sessions. Please, we can get to stages where we'll be using Linux virtual machines like using Ubuntu server and so on. That is if you are very good using Linux. But in this stage, we are just using a Windows virtual machine server that you can be able to interact with. Please note those things. Windows, you can use Windows 11 Pro or you can use Windows Server. So let me give you a difference between this Windows Server and normal Windows. So normal Windows is what you use on your personal system. That's your Windows 10, Windows 11, and so on. It can be Pro, Enterprise, and any other image that you want to use, but that's not an issue. Nevertheless, when you talk about Windows Server have another upgraded version in that they have server-like features like IaaS. IaaS is used for hosting services, web services, and so on. They have other integrated platforms on them. That is what differentiates Windows Server from Windows 11. But for this class, sorry, for this class, I want us to use Windows 11. It is easier for everybody to work with. You understand? Easier for everybody to work with Windows 11. Thank God everybody has a personal system that you can use to integrate with it. Maybe in other sessions, we can now use Windows Server. I can now show you how to work with Windows Server and how to deploy services and so on and so forth. But this for our first session, we are going to use our Windows 11 Pro. Okay. Good. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so now when it comes to size, please, can you see the cost of this server per month? Is telling me I'm getting $7.59, $7.59 per month. Uh, if you go and check the prices for the remaining ones, you can see they are having higher prices than what we can afford. So please ensure that you are using something minimum so you can be able to reduce your cost spending. I have explained the cost and the cost ratios and the cost spending in our previous class where I talked about using a pricing calculator. That's Azure pricing calculator. So last class I talked about, I think some weeks ago, I think we talked about using pricing calculator to determine the kind of VM you want to use, how much will it cost per month in this particular region and so on. And they vary from region to region. So please, before you create your own virtual machines, please try as much as possible to use the pricing calculator or go to our previous videos on pricing calculator and see how to use it and ensure that you are using something that won't remove all the free charges that you have in just one day. Okay, so for this session, we'll be using this B1 series. So, okay, I'll have to input my username. Let me just call it DevOps Bootcamp. Sorry, let me just use Bootcamp. Okay, DevOps Bootcamp VM. My password. So okay, I've inputted my password securely. Next thing is, how do I want to connect to this virtual machine? After I create the virtual machine, how do I intend to connect to the virtual machine? Then you have to have something called uh, public access. So for some security measures, some people prefer not to connect to it uh, publicly, they connect to it privately. In our previous class, I talked about NSG, and I talked about connecting to virtual machines privately or connecting to them publicly. So let me just give a summary of it. If you are connecting to it publicly, it means that I can connect to the virtual machine from my own personal system using the general internet. That means I'm connecting to the virtual machine publicly. But if I'm connecting to it privately, it means that I am on Microsoft network and I'm connected to Microsoft to it via Microsoft network. For instance, I am having what we call Azure VPN. If I have Azure VPN and I install that Azure VPN on my personal system, I can turn on my Azure VPN and use that my Azure platform. Then I can now connect to the virtual machine directly without connecting without public internet access. So based on our demo today, we are going to be connecting to it publicly, eh, just for us to understand how it works. So that's that. The next thing we want to talk about, disks. This is important. So when it comes to disks, I know you guys, you have personal system, right? In your personal system, there are some major components in your personal system that makes your system work. Number one, you know the RAM, the CPU, and also the hard drive. Please, can we follow that things? Number one, the RAM, the CPU, the hard drive. Good. So when it comes to let me go back here. Requires without any spending limit. Okay, this virtual machine. So you see, we are having this error. We are going to come back to it later because we are using a free one. So look at this B1 series. You see that the CPU is one virtual CPU, while the memory is 1 gig memory. Please, can we get that? So we have CPU, we have the memory, and we have the hard drive. So please, let's note those things when we are going into these processes. Next thing is the disk. So in this disk, image disk, we prefer we should use something not not much of a cost. You can use this one, this, and I won't prefer we should use premium SSD. So we have different kind of disks depending on your cost measures. So I prefer we use something like standard HDD. You understand? Standard HDD means it has a lower cost, so we can check it also in the in your when you are looking at the disks when creating virtual machine, also in your pricing calculator. You will see that when I moved to using, sorry, you will see that standard HDD is cheaper than using standard SSD, or you are using premium SSD. So all these things are just cost measures and also their performance also. So HDD, as you see, is best for backup, not critical and infrequent access. Standard SSD is best for web servers, light used enterprise application, and for dev and test. And why this one is majorly for production performance. So we can use this or we can use this, but I would prefer you use standard HDD. It's kind of cheaper, but you can confirm that from using the pricing calculator also. Next thing is the key management. Okay, let me even talk about delete with VM. So why this is checked, it means that when I want to delete this VM, this disk is going to be deleted. So some people when they create VMs, they prefer that I can delete the virtual machine, but the data disk, meaning the hard drive, should not be deleted. So that's what this thing is about. Delete your disks with your virtual machine. The next thing is your key management. The key management is either platform managed or customer managed, but based on our cost measure, we are using platform managed. So now I want to talk about these data disks. So I know you have used personal systems that have another hard drive attached to it. Like for some system, they have the main hard drive, which may be a SSD hard drive, but they still have space in the system that can contain HDD hard drive. That means the system is having two hard drives, but one is the main hard drive, while the other hard drive is just attached to it. So this data disk is just like me having another hard drive that is attached to my system. So that's what this data disk is for. For that's for us to know about it. The next thing is networking. Networking. So in the place of networking is where we have to now select the virtual network we are using, the subnet, and so on and so forth. So let's get to it. We have a pre-existing virtual network initially. Let's use this one. Okay. I think we used to have it. I'm coming. Let me check if we have a pre-existing virtual network or it has been deleted. Please hold on. I want to check maybe the virtual network has been deleted. Bootcamp VNet. Okay, Bootcamp 2025 VNet. Bootcamp. Why is it not showing? Okay, the region. Okay, the region is West Europe. Let me just use. I want us to use pre-existing resources instead of creating new ones. West Europe. Okay, West Europe. So okay, if we are using West Europe, then we have this virtual network. So we can use any one of these. We have a subnet. You can choose to use virtual machine subnet, public IP. We don't have any existing public IP. We just create a new one, public IP address. Network interface, we are going to be using a basic one. For public inbound, allow ports. So when we were talking about NSG last class, I talked about this inbound and outbound and how to allow incoming traffic or disallow incoming traffic, and how to allow outgoing traffic or disallow outgoing traffic using your NSG rules. I talked about that in our previous class. So that's about this one. So delete public IP address and nick when the VM is deleted. I'll check it to yes. Load balancing means that do I want to place this virtual machine under behind a load balancer or an application gateway? No, we haven't yet gotten to that stage. So the answer is none. So the next thing is management. So this management talks about what are the other features that I want to integrate in my virtual machine. For instance, I want to integrate auto shutdown. I want my virtual machine to shut down every 7 p.m. Please, can you see it? I can just put it there. Shut down my virtual machine every 7 p.m. Please, guys, note this thing. It will be part of your assignment. Integrate a auto shutdown on your virtual machine and send a notification to yourself that, okay, notify me before you shut down this virtual machine every 7 p.m. every day. The time zone is UTC. Please, UTC. I'm begging. Okay. So, guest updates and all these things are not actually needed. So the main thing there is just the auto shutdown. So the auto shutdown helps you to save costs of running your virtual machine. Like for instance, 7 p.m. in the night is a good time that you have actually not doing anything on your virtual machine. So it's just shut down your virtual machine for you to save costs for you. So that's what this really does for you. Next thing is monitoring. In this terms of monitoring, I've seen your hands up. I'm going to respond to you soon, please. So in this terms of monitoring, it tells that do you want to enable alert rules? Alert rules, when we get to place of monitoring, I'll talk about how to set monitoring for your virtual machines, how to integrate alerts, meaning that maybe when the CPU is ready at 80% or 70%, depending on the rule you set for it, you should be notified. Or maybe when your disk is about to be full, you should get notification or email or anything that, oh, this CPU is already becoming high or this memory is becoming full. You can set notification for it, or any kind of notification you want to set for it, you can set it for it. Also, boot diagnosis, meaning that if you need to boot, if you are booting the virtual machine and it have any boot issues, it can log the issues into a storage account for you. This is not actually needed. That's why I disable it, because of the cost implications of it. So the next thing again we want to talk about, we want to go to advanced. In advanced place, do you have any extensions? So I will come back to talk about some other extensions that we can use in virtual machines. Some of them include using just in time, some other features that are added to virtual machines. I'm going to show you how those things work, kind of, but literally most of the time they are not really literally needed, just except there is a need for you to use them. Please, do you understand? Except there is a need for you to use them, but on a normal case, they are literally not needed. So that's about the extension. Do you have any virtual machine application that you want to install also or add them? For now, we don't have any. That's this, and that. Okay, capacity reservation. We don't have any reservation and so on for it. That's why I had to put as none for now. So tags. I'm going to just use tags, one of the tags for you to see how tags work. I can say, okay, in these tags, give me department. I will name my department to DevOps Bootcamp. That's the department. Or I'm going to show you how those tags work later on. But in most of the time, it's good to tag your Azure resources. So, for instance, we have a subscription that's used by different teams. We want to know which team has this resource. I can sort them based on their tags. Like, for instance, I can say team A, with all the resources that belong to team A. I will go and check the tags, use the tags to sort them, and say every resources that have department is equals to team A, give me all these resources, and so on and so forth. So that's one of the things that tags really does for us. So after that, we go to the next thing, which is review and create.